somebody who's has some type of disability. Again, not only was he autistic, he has cerebral palsy. So once again, instead of saying, I'm going to at least try to figure out more information about what's going on, I'm just going to be reactionary. We are in a time more than ever where we have to look out for ourselves and try our best as much as we can to not call on them dang on police. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Real Reading Talk. I am your most gracious host, Miss Sasha. And with Real Reading Talk, I discuss the real systemic issues that are at the very core, the very foundation as to why we have these high levels of illiteracy in the Black community and the ways in which we can combat these issues together, y'all. I want to welcome you all. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate my newbies in the house. Those of you who are, this your first time listening, I hope that you stay. I hope that you gain benefit. I hope that this is something that you will share with others. And it is something that, most importantly, it will lead you into doing more research, more reading, because I'm about to talk about a topic that is very dear and near to my heart. And I appreciate my OGs as well. Thank you all. Keep rocking it. And again, make sure you all like, subscribe, share, and comment, and hit the notification bell. So I wanted to talk about this particular story that had been circulating. The unfortunate event happened April 5th, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm grabbing my phone so that I can make sure that I'm accurate with in giving you all the information. Those of you, a lot of you who are listening, you probably already know about this story. And this, I'm actually reading it from CNN.com. And this is a story about the boy who was autistic, nonverbal, and he had cerebral palsy. And he was shot multiple times by the police. This happened in Idaho, I believe, Boise, Idaho. His name, Victor Perez, he was 17, and he was shot on April 5th. And he had been in a coma since then. And unfortunately, his family had to make the very horrible decision to take him off the life support because it was showing that his brain did not have any activity going on in his brain. So they had to make the very they had to make the decision, the very serious decision to say, okay. And the reason why he was shot by the police is because he was in his backyard. Okay. He was in his backyard and he was wielding a knife. Okay. And someone actually had saw that he was wielding a knife. It was a 911 call reporting that an apparently intoxicated man with a knife was chasing someone in a yard. Well, it turned out to be Perez. And of course, he was not intoxicated. It says, according to the article, he walked with a staggered gait due to his disabilities. All right. So he's not walking normal. He's, looking, moving about, not looking balanced or whatever the case may be. His family members, though, have been trying to get the large kitchen knife away from him. Right. Then it was somebody with a video that was taken by a neighbor had showed that Perez was lying in the yard after falling over when the 4 officers arrived and rushed to the fence at the edge of the yard. They immediately ordered Perez to drop the knife, but instead, Perez, he stood and began stumbling toward them. Okay, that's what they said. Then the officers opened fire within about 12 seconds of getting out of their patrol cars and made no apparent effort to de escalate the situation. Of course, his family was outraged. All right. Then it goes on, it says that everybody was trying to tell the police, no, 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 Vasquez said. Those four officers didn't care. They didn't ask what was happening. What was the situation? So I wanted to start off with sharing that because, first of all, this story, as I was reading it, when I very first read the story, when it first happened, it immediately brought me to tears because I immediately started thinking about my son, Musa, who's 19, who was diagnosed with autism a couple of years ago officially, even though, and this was the second opinion that we got, because when we first noticed that he had something, again, as parents, you all know that whole, I can tell something's different, something's off, especially too, he's my fourth child. So, and of course, you do the whole comparison thing. You see, you notice when your kids start doing certain things, certain milestones. Oh, when they're two, they're doing this. At three, they're, and I noticed he wasn't. And so immediately when he was like about three, he was getting the speech therapy because he was not talking like how my other kids were talking earlier in their early ages. And so, long story short, basically when he like got about seven, he had we took him to the autism center here in Cleveland. And they went through the whole assessment and all of that. And it was like, oh no, he doesn't have autism. He has ADHD though. We see that because at that time he was definitely very impulsive, always darting around, all of that type of stuff. And, but I was not taking no for an answer. Continuously like, okay, you know what? No, it's definitely something. And then the intellectual disability part, seeing that as well. And then to finally, it took me getting a second opinion. And this particular psychologist looking at him was like, he already could tell, like, definitely it was something. And even it was interesting because even like when we would have the IEP meetings and it would be the psychologist there and they, and we're talking about Musa and all, and they're like, he still doesn't have this diagnosis of autism because they, you had folks looking, they're seeing it as well. But again, when you got to go through a particular channel to get their their stamp of approval, and if they're looking, they're saying, "Oh no, according to our assessments, we're not seeing that, but we're seeing ADHD. Here's your drugs. Which one you want to choose?" So, giving you all that backdrop again, and because of the fact, here it is being an advocate for your child, going through all of these different things, trying to get them the support, the help that they need. That right there is one of the most heart-wrenching, it's very draining, frustrating things to go through. And then as you see your child get older and you see they may get over some certain things, but then there's other things you have to be concerned about, especially when they are a male and in particular a Black male. Now, even though Victor Perez, he wasn't a Black male, but you can definitely tell by his name, there's some type of Hispanic roots there. And I, immediately, again, here it is. You have these cops, these police officers, a lot of them who are trained to just react in a way where it's, oh my God, we just want to make sure everybody's safe. So we're just going to kill the threat. We're just going to do whatever we can to subdue the threat. And if it means that we got to take that person's life, oh, well, so be it. That right there is just absolutely insane. And I'm talking about this because number one, This is the time in which we have to make sure, I don't care if you do not have a child who has autism, even if you don't know somebody directly. But what you have to understand is that you still have to be an advocate. You still have to be that person who is looking out for our most vulnerable population, which is those who come from the special needs community. And I'm focusing on autism because we are in Autism Awareness Month still. And, we have a rise of our youth who are autistic. The statistics say there's like about 1 in 32 children who have autism, 1 in 45 adults. And this information, you can go to autismspeaks.org because they definitely keep pretty good information as it pertains to those who have autism. And we have to be diligent about looking out for our community of our folks who come from the autistic community. Because just like I read in the article, Victor was not verbal. And the thing that really troubled me, though, is that here it is. You have these people who are looking, you're seeing this happening in this person's yard, right? Okay, you're seeing somebody with the knife, and they say they were chasing somebody, whatever, with the knife. Even still, we need to do our due diligence and say, hey, look, let me go and try to yell out, find out, hey, what's going on? Something first before we start calling these police. I truly believe we need to start doing that. Because as we see, when you have a system that has set up, that has told these folks, when you come on the scene, all you need to do is just pull out your gun or pull out your baton, and you get to beating the person down or whatever the case may be. Don't find out nothing. It said 12 seconds. 12 seconds. So you telling me them police officers, they couldn't say, hey, I need to talk. Parents, come here, tell me what's going on. But as we saw in the article, as I read to you all in the article, they were being told, no. And that's what I'm saying. The person who called 911. Once again, a person could probably in the back of their mind, well, I'm thinking I'm helping. I see somebody with a knife. But then you said, not only did you say they had a knife, then you wanted to say they were intoxicated. And then they're describing this boy, and I'm sitting up here like, and clearly I'm quite sure people looking like, okay, no, he don't look like he's intoxicated. He looks like somebody who's has some type of disability. Again, not only was he autistic, he has cerebral palsy. So once again, instead of saying I'm going to at least try to figure out more information about what's going on, I'm just going to be reactionary. We are in a time more than ever where we have to look out for ourselves and try our best as much as we can to not call on them dang on police. Now, I know somebody you watching, you listening, like, okay, so what do we do? You know what I mean? Because look, some people, we're in communities where you got folks, they don't care. And all they do is respond to, all they care about is police, or respect police rather, in terms of they'll listen to them. They'll act right when the police come around. But this is where, again, where we got to step it up as a community and say, no, I'm going to be more vigilant. I'm going to be more vigilant in my community. I'm going to find out. I'm going to do more of making sure that my people are cool in the community. These are things that we have to do for ourselves. Because I'm sitting up here imagining the whole time, just like I explained in terms of with my son, him getting a diagnosis, and me having to be a constant uh, guardian and advocate for him because he is not verbal when he goes out in public. He's verbal, but when he goes out, he's not going to talk. I don't care if you're family or not. He won't really say nothing. He has to warm up to you. And even if something is happening to him, a clear example, when my son, he was getting dropped off from a particular center he was going to help high school students who have special needs, to help them to get employable skills. And so he was getting a ride from the particular transportation services to be brought home. Well, this one particular day, the van driver, she did not bring him home at the time we were used to him coming home because I wasn't home yet. I was, still at work. And my son, he was home, my oldest son. And I said, did Musa get home? He's like, no, he's not getting home yet. And I'm like, huh? And so basically, she had my son still in the van. She had to go to another route. I think her route was on the west side or something like that. I had to call the bus depot where the van services, call the transportation services or whatever. I'm frantic. I'm like, oh my God, I'm calling the school, doing all of that. Calling his father, letting him know what's going on, all of these things. And do you know my son, he was in the back of the van. She said she did not realize he was back there still. Now, mind you, I said van, I didn't say bus, van. So he was still back there. And he didn't say anything though. He didn't know to tell her or couldn't tell her that you forgot, I'm back here, you forgot to drop me off or whatever the case may be. And so finally, a couple hours later, finally, I'm talking to the transportation service. They they contact me like, okay, she'll be there, at this particular time, whoop de whoop and all of that. And finally she pulled up and I talked to her and I'm just like, and of course, she was like very apologetic and all of that. But I'm just like, wow, man. I said, here it is. I mean, a parent's worst nightmare, right? To expect your child at home at a particular time, especially your child that you know for a fact is not able to speak up for themselves and they're not home. I mean, just absolutely, I hate even remembering that story. In fact, I can't even, I mean, the last time I really talked about it was when it happened, which was like a couple of years ago. And I'm saying this again as a reminder of number one, when you have children who have autism, do your research, read as much as you can on how to get the services and the resources that you need for your child. That's the first thing. Those of you who are, maybe you have this is new for you. You just found out that your child has autism, or you an OG, you understand. Please keep doing the research, doing what you need to do so that you can be empowered and so that you can empower your child. Number two, make sure that you keep in contact with the community of folks that can help you when it comes to any type of advocacy, any ways in which you can get the support that you need for your child or your children who has autism. Make sure you stay in the community of folks who can help you, who can guide you where things that you don't know, or if you feel overwhelmed. Stay connected to the people. And number three, even though this is not the case for this particular family, because this family, they knew their child or their, nephew or whoever, the family members who were there that were connected to him. But as much as we can, because again, that situation, of course, very distraught. They see him, he has the knife, they trying everything possible. But make sure that you let the community know that your child or your grandson, granddaughter, whoever got the autism, make sure that your neighbors and the people know that they have autism so that other people can look out as well. In fact, I've seen in communities where they'll have the sign that it will say like autistic child lives here or deaf child or blind child lives here. That should be something that's mandatory for all communities. When you have if it's only at least one person there who has autism, it should be a sign there so that people can be on alert, so that you won't have these calls once again. How many times have we heard this? And of course, being a Black woman, we already know as Black folks, how many times we've then got somebody then called on us. Oh my God, they're jogging. It looks like, they're about to jog and to a bank and go rob it. Oh my goodness, they're sitting in a car reading a book. I think they're plotting to break into somebody's house. All kind of just stupid calls from folks want to call 911 on us for things, because again, that fear, that paranoia, thinking that somebody out to get you or somebody's going to do something. So that's why it's important for us as a community to understand that we got to let the people know, okay, look, I have an autistic son who lives here. So just to make you aware, right? Because sometimes, again, when you have that person who has autism, sometimes, just like in the case of Victor, they may do something impulsive, grab the knife, not really understanding the severity of what could happen with that knife, doing impulsive things like that. And so that's why I wanted to come on here and talk about that, because this is real. That story right there, I'm like, you talk about, once again, I get into oh my goodness, man. I start praying and I'm like, oh, y'all, oh God, please, please. Because the first thing that comes to my mind is, again, the reactionary ways in which these police officers have been taught to respond to things that are a perceived threat. And we already know, just as Black folks and people who come from special needs community as well, they have been otherized. They're different. They have to be dealt with differently. Just like it was a time in this country where if somebody they had some type of disabilities or some type of mental health issues, whatever the case may be, they like, oh no, you got to go into an asylum. We got to put you away. We got to otherize you. You got to be separate from everybody else. We got to put these labels on you that you are not really, you can't really be with the rest of the population. Because ain't no doggone way these supposed trained folks should have came on the scene after 12 seconds and they telling the boy to drop the knife, and you looking at him clearly, especially if you understand that, okay, you're right now about to do something to where you can end this person's life. Right now, you're supposed to do everything you can to try to figure out a way not to end their life. Not going on the scene, trying to figure out every way you can to discharge your weapon so that you can end somebody's life. But again, what am I saying here? I'm saying this. Us as a community, we know what we're dealing with. When you know who you're dealing with, now what you do is you try your best to do everything possible to move away from them coming in and intervening. Because when they come on the scene, they already got an agenda. So if you know who you're dealing with, you understand the concept of the policing anyway, then you can act accordingly. Then you can say, you know what? Hey, y'all, we got to make sure that we get together as a community. We got to rally around, especially for our people, whether it's a youth or whether it's an adult who has autism or any type of special need. Because again, he had autism and cerebral palsy. We got to make sure we rally around them. We got to make sure we advocate for them. We got to make sure we look out for them. This is serious. This is the attitude. This is the stance. This is the mentality that we must have. And so I'm imploring to you to please make sure that you do that as a community. Again, making sure that you let people know what's going on. Do everything you possibly can to not have to call on them to intervene in any type of way. And this is again a clarion call for those who it's not just about that. Well, I don't have a child who has autism, or I don't know anybody. This is a communal effort. And so when you're talking about situations like this is not the first time that a situation like this has happened, where there was some type of mental health crisis or a child with special needs. And it's so interesting though, because again, there have been stories where you will have these cops and I know we've heard about them, we've seen them, where you'll have a white person who's acting a certain kind of way, acting out, but they'll get all the deference in the world. They'll make sure that, we got to make sure that everything is cool. We're not going to quickly try to be reactionary and shoot that particular person. And of course, again, we know that's not in all cases, but I'm just saying, we already know. When I'm saying we, I'm talking about those who come from our Black communities, and even again, Black and brown communities, underserved communities, and communities, again, where we have our population of folks who are autistic or they come from the special needs community. We have to make sure that we advocate. So I just wanted to share that. And that's what I have for you all today. And also, what I want to do is I'm going to show the book now. This is a book that I got a few years ago, which is called The Resistance, Persistence, and Resilience of Black Families Raising Children with Autism. It has 4 authors: Elizabeth R. Drain, Tara Adams, Veronica R. Nolden, and Judy M. Nardi. And I got this book because I wanted to be able to get some more understanding of all the different resources, the different tools, different strategies that I need to help my son in raising him, being his mother, and seeing the different things that he does that I'm like, okay, how do I handle this? Who do I talk to? What kind of tools or resources can I get to be able to give him the support that he needs? He's getting older. How do I get him to be able to advocate for himself, speak up? All right. It has a lot of great information in here. Just talking about the different things that you have these different parents, what they have dealt with, even from them getting the diagnosis, from not getting information that they should be getting from doctors or from people who are in the community that should be giving them like, hey, you could do this, you can get this, right? Oh, you can, they have a grant for this where you can get them or her help with this. In the Black community, you don't see that typically. That's not something that type of information, and we talk about this in our communities anyway, where a lot of times we got to go and find, or we just happen to get some information on something. People aren't usually going to be readily giving us information, and that's real talk. I know this for a fact because I've experienced this. Or we'll get information after the fact. It's like years later. It's like after a while, your child don't even qualify no more. They aged out of whatever resources they could have gotten at that particular time. So these are things that are real, and I like the fact of how they talk about these different things in this book. So this is something that I highly recommend that you all get as well. So with that being said, I hope that you all gained some great information, great insight in this particular episode. I wanted to do it because of the fact it is Autism Awareness Month still. And this is the time for us to make sure that we are empowering and educating ourselves on this neurological processing disorder that has been on the rise for some time. And so we all have to have all hands on deck in making sure that we support one of our most vulnerable population, which is those from the autistic community. So thank you all again for listening to another episode of Real Reading Talk. I am your most gracious host, Ms. Sation. And remember to please keep reading for at least 30 minutes a day. And remember, reading is freedom. Peace.